Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Masterpiece You Are. My name is Erica Elliot. I'm a brain code strategist and counselor of over 30 years. I am here today to talk about healing in truth, about domestic violence, sexual assault, PTSD kinds of abuse, and I have Charmain Tucker from Australia, and she's going to talk a little bit about how she helps people with healing in these areas and also her journey. So, welcome, Charmaine, and feel free to just jump in and share a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me, Erica. Hi, everyone. So I'm Charmaine. I am ironically, a psychologist who married a psychopath. So
That's a
it's
story. Should be on
it,
Dateline. I don't know if you
yeah,
guys have Dateline in Australia, but in America, that's a Dateline story.
into a family tree of psychopathy, nasty, nasty journey. Uh, Falling into a horrendous mess, finding myself in a really, really desperate, dark, deep pit at the worst
Yes.
of it, and realizing that the journey is very layered, very roller coaster. Um, and the journey is actually about me. So your journey is about you. And I was I was desperate and frantic for answers, trying to find out what was going on. I had mental health issues, physical health issues, everything I was trying, it felt like nothing was working. It was like, but I'm doing all of the right things. I know these things. I've gone to the right people. Like, what is wrong with me? I'm
Yeah.
broken. People don't understand me. I, I didn't understand. I was so desperately confused.
And what
And
can I stop you for just a second? Can say
yeah,
anybody who's hearing this, if you are in a relationship or grew up with anybody who's
mm,
a psychopath, a narcissist, borderline, and though we don't like to use terms because but they're toxic personality traits.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're listening to this, the research it's the truth is there is a triangulation that happens with
yeah,
these type of people, and so you do begin to question yourself. Am I the
yeah,
crazy one? Did I do this wrong? Well, and
yeah,
especially if you're empathic, if you're a good person, if you're trying to learn and do the right things, because sometimes you're like, well, yeah, I did
yeah.
argue back that point, and yeah, I've messed up too, and you
Yeah.
start, so then you kind of get confused. It's like, oh, wait a minute, who's the
Yeah.
person who's abusing and who's the person who's being abused?
Yeah.
And so there is a triangulation of feelings in that,
Uh,
and then trying to explain that to somebody on the outside, you start to feel yourself like maybe I am
yeah.
crazy. And so if you're
Uh-huh.
listening to this, please understand, if you're in this beginning part of
Mm.
this journey, or even if you're in the middle and you're like, this feels really messy and I've never figured this out, that's normal.
Mhm.
And there are good people who understand this, who can help you through it if they're trauma based,
Yeah.
counselors,
Yeah.
coaches, those kinds of things. So go ahead and please share some more on that.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you.
absolutely. I love that you jumped in with that. Thank you. So it is so true. And I think some of the things that I found on my journey were there are so many labels that get thrown around. And my dark humor is to say, oh, I'm the psychologist who married a psychopath.
Yeah.
But it's the thing. I mean, I'm not diagnosing him. He's not
Sure.
diagnosed with that. But I've reached a point where I can talk about certain elements of it without bursting into tears and but just going through and recognizing and that everywhere I went and you find your people, right? And wherever we're at and however we're programming the supercomputer that is our mind, we
Mhm.
seem to have that magnetic draw towards that. And it just, everyone and everywhere I looked, everyone is talking about them, the
Mm.
label. the, this is a narcissist, this is a psychopath, this is a sociopath. The label doesn't matter. Exactly what you said. It's toxic is toxic, abuse is abuse. And you absolutely, those moments of, I must be as soon as you find out about narcissism, well, I did this, I did that, I'm thinking it's about me, I must be the narcissist. I actually went to a therapist and said, I think I have a personality disorder. I think I'm abusive. I think I'm narcissistic, and started to unpack things. And the trauma-informed awareness of the person that you're working with is so, so important.
Yes.
Because when you don't speak to somebody who has that training and skill set, they don't understand. And you reach that point where they're really good at hearing and you're retelling. But actually, a lot of that time when you've bottled up all of that stuff, you're actually reliving. And then you walk away feeling worse than you did going in, because now what am I supposed to do with this? Because I'm just reliving it. And then when I find people who get it, and then we start doing that, but then everything's all about them. And again, it's not actually coming to what is going to help. And what is going to help is stop looking outward and start looking inward. Stop giving outward, start giving inward. Start doing that work to drain all of it. It's like a detox, a giant detox through a multi-layered trauma onion. And every time you think you've reached somewhere, there it is again. And then I'm broken, I'm back at the beginning, like the roller coaster, the back and forth, the feeling, the ups, the downs, thinking, I'm finally there. And then something happens and it sets you back. Those moments where we feel so flooded by things. There's no control over what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, what I'm doing. My body won't stop shaking. Like, just so many moments that it's not until you've actually found that connection to yourself that you can find those words to actually start to describe those things. And I had to explore so many modalities and so many, finding the right people and the right spaces and the right strategies. And those strategies, oh, hang on a second, they were working and now they're not. And and lots it was a very humbling experience to have to stop being such a hypocrite and start practicing what I preach. It's unlearning. It's a process of unlearning. We're learning something new. And what I found, and what I find so much in supporting other people along the journey in some of those spaces that I don't find so toxic and problematic. What I find is we all have these expectations on ourselves to be able to be Olympic level triathletes before we've ever even learned to sit up. And it's about that practice, and it's not this. There is no magic wand. There's not a there's no magic answer. It's a combination. It's trial and error. It's perseverance. It's patience. All of the things that we need come from love. And all of the things that make it harder come from fear. And fear is loud. Fear is paralyzing at some points through this. But when we can find that source of love, that patience, that kindness, that nurture, that connection to something that does fill our heart, does connect, does resonate, And that is unique for
Mm-hmm.
everyone because we're unique.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a thing of recognizing you searching out there for all of these experts and all of these,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody does it for you. Who is the expert of being you?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is being you. You're the expert of being you. Um,
So
um,
beautiful. And at the
yeah.
same time, we are relationship creatures, right? And so
Oh, yeah.
for and for those of you hearing this, the truth is we do need somebody to walk through when we're in the
Mhm,
beginning stages of this for
mhm,
sure, because you can have disassociation, you can have,
mhm.
and so I know Charmaine's not saying, hey, go do this all by yourself, because that's not going to
No,
work either.
no,
It can be
no.
not only um, can be hard because you're
Mhm.
needing to try to figure out some tools that's going to help you stay in a better place when you get
Yes.
triggered. Like she said, when you
Mhm,
get dysregulated, and that's the words
mhm.
that we use a lot of times in the counseling field, is that dysregulation or
Yeah.
hypervigilant. When you get in that place and space, it's the back part of your brain, that amygdala that's going, that has a
Mhm,
memory of something that's happened to you before that's similar. And so, literally, you could have um, somebody at a grocery store give you a look that reminds you of the look of the person who traumatized you, and it can put you
mhm,
into a fight. You can hear a tone or a word, even from like a close friend that you know that they're a safe person, that this person loves you, and it can get you off kilter, in that place and space. So, and none of
mhm.
this is anyone saying do this alone. At first, there's going to
No.
be some time, but what we do, what she is saying, and I would say too, is make sure you find somebody who it fits and resonates for you. And it is absolutely okay to say, I don't know if this person resonates with me, but I am going to say, anybody who's ever been in trauma and doing this for 30 some years, I will tell you, I even warn people when we first start in this journey is, I'm going to have you share a little bit about some of the things that you want to work on that are triggers right here and now, so we can work
Mhm,
on those first, and I'm going to give you some tools for it. Because if you let somebody, and so those of you who are listening, and maybe you're new into doing trauma counseling, trauma support, trauma coaching, any of those kinds of things, first let me just say, be cautious whether you are the person who's talking about your trauma or the person listening to and helping someone with trauma. Be cautious of opening up everything all at once and sharing all the stuff, because almost always the research shows that a person who has experienced that trauma, then they go back that night and then begin to have nightmares and are re-traumatized and going, okay, this isn't a safe place for me to go, and so they don't go back. So it's really important to know that it has to be done in a container. In EMDR, we often talk about containers. In trauma therapy, we talk about containers in a containing way where they let a little bit out. We work on that and give some tools around that. And then we put this into a safe container, and we'll talk about the rest of the stuff that's there. It's not that we don't want to talk about it, but we also want to make sure that we're not doing more harm. And for those who, if you get somebody who had severe trauma and they come to you and you don't feel like you're qualified trauma counselor, I will say it can be more traumatizing and re-traumatizing to an individual when they don't go to somebody who's trauma informed and teaches them how to put those in the containers, and tools to use throughout the weeks before, the days before they come back to working on those things. So, which, I love that you're saying this, because that's why Linda Hills, who is the person who asked me to be a part of this program called the HIT Retreat, Healing and Truth Retreat, she talks about her journey of how she went to some retreats, and though they were great, she was left wide open with all the stuff because
mhm,
they weren't doing these trauma informed things of how to put it back, how to put it away, how to use your brain in a way where you can put this stuff aside and now use these tools until you get to a counselor, until you get to the next person to work with. So thank you for even sharing that and normalizing for people what it's like, when you go through this, even if you're a counselor, even if you're a
Yeah.
psychologist.
Yeah. None of us is immune to being human. And
Yeah.
having all of the knowledge and in the world doesn't stop you from experiencing trauma. It is, and I very much, my experience has been intimate partner violence and sexual assault. But what I came to realize along things is everyone is going through something, and trauma impacts our body. Our body does remember. For me,
Yes.
those traumas are domestic abuse and sexual assaults. For
Yeah.
somebody else, those traumas are from something from medical. Those things are from an accident. Those things are from a grief or loss experience. And the condition that it leaves us with mentally, physically, emotionally is where we do all have the similarity and the commonalities. And but what we want when we've gone through something, by the nature of being human, there's my pussycat in the background there, joining in to get a moment in the spotlight.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So yeah, what we want, because we are social creatures, that's part of being human. And so we want we want to belong, and we want to understand. So we find comfort in others who have had similar experiences, others who are feeling in a similar way, who are seeking a similar thing. And so it's perfectly okay to need to find those things. And I love some of the points that you had made, Erica, and this retreat sounds amazing. I wish that it wasn't the globe away.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's actually something I have in my vision board ideas of what I would really like to do is help people to experience exactly that empowerment of self, to then go away with those tools and the confidence to find the right fit people and supports. Because our personal supports, our friends, family, our loved ones, but we also need to find our professional supports. And I think it's about finding those that are qualified and experienced when we're talking professional, have got the understanding of some of those specific aspects, particularly in the realm of very toxic personality driven abuse. It has quite a unique impact on the brain and body, and there's huge evidence and research going into having the DSM actually specify complex post-traumatic stress disorder instead of simply PTSD, because there is those complexities and we love to run with something and get a hearing on something and get an idea, and I just think it's not about the pathology, it's not about the label. Sure, the diagnosis can help to find the right evidence-based treatment. And certainly you made reference to EMDR. That's an amazing evidence-based therapy specific for trauma. But there's other modalities as well. And, EMDR is not necessarily right for everyone. And just because that's the most evidence-based and thing, it's okay if it doesn't sit with what feels right to you, and you know you best, and you know when you need that, and you absolutely, it is not something you should be going through alone. There's times you desperately want to be on your own, you don't want to see anyone else, and you just want to hide away from the world.
Yeah.
that you wake up and it was all a horrible nightmare.
Yeah.
But you do need those people. We're social creatures. We need connection. We need understanding. We need those that are going to remind us to be compassionate and kind to
Absolutely.
ourselves. I think my biggest message for people is start being your champion and your best friend instead of
Yes.
your critic and your barrier. And that can take learning, that can take
Yes.
practice too, and that's okay. But you
Hmm.
deserve to be your own best friend. The
Yes.
the relationship we have with ourselves is the foundation for every other relationship we have.
Absolutely.
So making that foundation a beautiful one of
Absolutely.
confidence, empowerment,
Hmm.
love, hope,
Hmm.
dreams,
Yes.
acceptance that not
Yes.
it's not all rainbows, unicorns, sunshine and
Yeah.
lollipops, but
Yes.
being able to build that resilience for those times when it bumps through, that's when you start to see the things improve. That's when you start to draw in those new things and you're creating things without even thinking about creating those
Yes.
things.
Yes. I
We're
love that.
amazingly powerful people.
Hmm.
And yeah, it embracing that's
Hmm.
really what I discovered. My passion to help others is embrace ourselves as the expert of being us, to be the most powerful, wonderful us that we
Yes.
choose to be.
Yes, I love that so much. So,
Mm-hmm.
just a couple things I want to hit back on that you had mentioned. You're right. So there's somatic is very well researched today
Yeah.
too as being a
Mm-hmm.
great trauma therapy. Brain spotting is came out of EMDR. It's similar to EMDR
Mm-hmm.
but different. Is very well researched now. EFT tapping,
Yeah.
TFT. The thought field therapy came first, then it was EFT. So it doesn't matter which modality, but those are both very well evidence based, really great. Some people will find help even going through actual acupuncture. They have if you go to
Mm-hmm.
ones who are trained in the right way, they have the PTSD formula. And I can't tell you how many people I know who went through some of the acupuncture points for PTSD and
Mm-hmm.
how helping relieve that out of the body. So just to kind of share a few of those, and there's many others. I will say in the work when you do trauma healing, whoever you work with, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter which modality, and if that feels right, it should also come back to attachment because the attachment part of the brain is towards the back of the brain also. And so if you don't do what she's talking about, that, Charmaine said, loving yourself, being your own best friend, going back and reparenting the child
Yeah.
within to the areas that you need to, or the young adult who went through this, really loving those parts of yourself. Parts work is another modality that a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people find very helpful. If you don't go back and do those things, then we're always looking outside of ourselves for what we really
Mm-hmm.
need inside of ourselves. And when we're doing that, that's when we end up sometimes drawing in people who bring in this like love bombs and things like that, and then later there's this toxic side of them. So not at all saying that we cause that, saying that when
Mm-hmm.
we're broken and we're not in a healing space of awareness, because that part of the brain is not awareness, this part of the brain is awareness. This part is remembering, and if we remember what it was like with other attachments, our brain says, oh, that's familiar. I kind of like that. And then later you go, what the heck was I thinking? That person is not healthy. And they're really, well, that's because we're not in the thinking part when we're in that attachment part of the brain, especially that deals with the love hormones. Love hormones can last anywhere from 4 months to 7 years. We can have blinders on with those love hormones that come in and give us that kind of rose-colored chemical glasses. So I always tell people, if you're in a place where you're back in the dating phase of life, is first off, make sure you're really loving yourself and giving yourself
Mhm.
what you are looking for outside of yourself, and get clear. What do I want? And am I doing that for myself? Because if I'm not doing
Yeah,
that for myself, I'm going to look for somebody who's going to do that for me. And
yeah.
when that person can't meet that need, I'm either going to be triggered in one area, and that might not be a bad person, or I'm going to draw somebody in who feels like they meet that need, and then
Mhm.
it might not be a healthy, and
Mhm.
I may not know how to decipher the difference. So it takes that, good 4 to 6 months. I think there's a reason why we should put back courting into relationships, because it takes a good 4 to 6 months to see a person's true personality traits. Not saying they're going to be perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to mess up. But that 4 to 6 months gives you time. If it's a person who has toxic traits, around 4 to 6 months, a person will start removing their mask because they get comfortable with you. So when they get comfortable, they can't hide everything. You start to see things that you like
Mhm.
go, oh, whoa, I haven't seen that
Mhm.
side. And you want to experience them in all different types of relationships. How do they treat the waiter? How do they treat, their boss? How do they treat their employees? How do they treat their family? All those kinds of things. Like, what do you notice with this individual? How do they handle conflict? And so if we go back to that place of courting this person to see, is this going to be a best fit for me for the long run? I
Mhm.
think we would all be healthier. I think that would be something I always say. I wish that we taught those things in schools to help them
Mhm.
learn how to have healthy relationships. And
Mhm.
then one other point I want to go back to is when you were mentioning about unhealthy and toxic people is, um, remember, even these people that are unhealthy, toxic, sociopaths, psychopaths, all the labels that you want to say, let's just go back
Mhm.
to toxic
Yeah.
relationships, toxic personalities, anything that is in that stage is also somebody who has been harmed. They
Mhm.
grew up learning this same type of harm somewhere.
Mhm.
And so when I say that because I have seen people who are narcissists. I've seen people who are borderline that have shifted, changed, and healed their life. It took a lot of work for them to do that, but they were able to
Mhm.
do those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
we never want to put that in there. That,
Mhm.
however, I also go, don't let the blinders go on that, oh yeah, this person, if they aren't willing and doing really hardcore therapy for those
Mhm.
and they're continuing to do the same abusive traits,
Mhm.
it's okay to say this is just not healthy for me anymore.
Yes, I think that was exactly the scenario I had. The explanation for the behaviors was his unresolved traumas, his unresolved. He had a very toxic, substance abusing parent who had introduced him to substances whilst he was an adolescent. He had a disaster behind him, wanted to make those changes. He was saying all of the right things. And I think it's beautiful when people do put in the effort and make those changes. The caution is saying and
Hmm.
doing. Behavior is communication, and the actions were not matching. And whilst the things he has experienced are horrific, his behaviors are abuse.
Yes.
And the explanation is not an excuse.
Hmm.
And my learning has been that that's what I was doing. But I couldn't see that clearly because I had the brain fog. I'd experienced the trauma, and exactly what you were saying. I always talk about things in the 3 stages of the brain: the survival brain, the emotional brain, the thinking brain, from the triune brain model, and the neurosequential model of engagement. We have to regulate in order to relate. And once we're settled with those, then we have the foundations for reasoning, the prefrontal cortex part of the brain. And so when you're in that state, you don't think and see. And we do look, you mentioned around like our love hormones and things like that. And we do look from a place of hope and belief. And then we're so awful to ourselves for having done that. And then it's like, boy, I don't want to not have hope. And I don't, it just, we go in this constant battle with ourselves over the errors that we made, or I was so stupid. The amount of times I told myself, how could I be so stupid? How could I not see? Why did I put up with that? I still do it now. I've stepped away several years ago, and I still have those moments of, really, Charmaine? Like, that was so obvious. How did you not see that? And I learned a really beautiful way of, people kept saying, oh, you look, hindsight, we all look back with hindsight. And I was like, Charmaine, you actually need to start looking back with kind sight. And it actually aligns with parts, with the parts of me, that inner critic that I've got, that wants to and the overanalyzer. They make a beautiful little team to dig through everything, and just having a look and going, okay, let's look back kindly, and let's see why didn't we? And I think when we can journey through in those ways and find the things that help us to help ourselves with those supports, and the people around us that both you and I are talking about, that like from internal, like with the external can support. The foundation of it is internal. It is we are the foundation of our life. And so finding the bandages, the crutches, and the casts around the wounded self that we feel when we tell ourselves that we're so broken, and we're so, that finding those and finding the right strategies, which would be like finding the right painkiller medication. And that's what strategies are, because there's not a magic pill. And it's so easy to fall into bad habits as well, because they can't, we always want quick fixes as human beings as well. And it's a blessing and a curse to be human. So finding those strategies. And I think you've shared so many wonderful modalities, and there are some practitioners that do combinations of those as well. And I work in a different space professionally around, so I do a lot of education around trauma and look to help young people who have been impacted by trauma, and help the educators around them enable them and their pathways for education. But in the space of supporting people, from what I've learned along the way, is actually something that I'm currently gifting to other people in that circumstance, rather than it actually being the space that I work in. I think it's really important to have that separation, because I'm still very early on the scale of things. It takes quite a lot to recognize that, because we want to say like, oh, we think we'll be fine, we'll bounce back, we'll dust ourselves off. But it actually does take time. So the way that I help people is just sharing some of those things, and some of the the little traps that we find ourselves in, and sharing some of those strategies that I have found helpful in a more general context to invite, explore these things and find what fits for you. And that's where I began with my platform of sharing.
I love that. You have a platform called Academy Empowerment. So tell me a little bit about that.
So Academy of Empowerment is the one that I went on so many different journeys around like, I
Yeah.
want to do this, and I want to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The Academy of Empowerment I brought about where I realized that we're all going through something, and we can all do with strengthening our coping skills. And I think of, it's not one big one-off thing. Self-care is so very vital
Yes.
for everyone. And those who work in helping and caring professions are the worst at doing self-care.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
don't. They're the
Yes.
best at reminding everyone else to do it,
Yes.
and they're the worst at doing it for themselves. And so I was like, I like to term it mental health hygiene. It's like brushing your teeth.
Yes.
You don't brush your teeth once a year.
That's right.
Somewhere nice by the ocean or in the mountains. It's something that we need to do little and often, and taking that time. And so encouraging people, regardless of where you're sitting I talk about mental health on a continuum. And even if you have a diagnosis of something, you can still find the right strategies and the right supports that you can actually cope, even flourish.
Yes. Absolutely.
Despite a diagnosis. And you can be going very, very well, and something can suddenly take you towards not doing well, and starting to recognize and connect with yourself. So just sharing some of those things around the nature of being human, that we're all perfectly imperfect, that we are the expert of ourselves. And so I have ideas in the pipeline around things to start helping people with some of those strategies for general, when it's not totally flooded with overwhelm. But what we can start practicing, different grounding techniques, things like that. I always talk on all of my platforms about coming from the frequency of love over fear. And so, that's one that is for everyone as a human being, every fellow human being who wants to add to their toolkit that could already be strong, but is looking for something new to add, or somebody that is recognizing, actually, I really need to begin. Where might I begin? Some of those things are there. And then the more directed for people on the same path as me, with overcoming domestic abuse and sexual assaults, that's there on an empowered transformation is
I
the
love that.
thing for that.
I love
Um,
that. So, will you
yeah.
share? Do you have like a tool or modality that's one of your favorite that you could share with the audience?
So I love breath work.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Absolutely love
yeah,
breath work. I like some of those quick, simple, take with you everywhere
yes.
grounding strategies. When I'm going to take some time within a nice container for
Mm-hmm.
doing that, I actually have a beautiful lady that I work with for my breath work.
Mm-hmm.
I love sound healing. There's an
Mm-hmm.
amazing gentleman that I work with for sound healing, but I also like those little tools that they're with you all the time. So some of those, just deep diaphragmatic breathing, some visualization techniques for me, having that deep breathing and visualizing a bright golden white light
Mm-hmm.
entering in to clear my mind,
Mm-hmm.
clear and open my voice, fill my heart,
Yes.
travel through every cell of my body,
Mm-hmm.
down, forming roots to keep me
Yes.
grounded. And I
Yes.
slowly, with my breathing, if I want something shorter and sharper, it's 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths.
Okay.
I have lots of spelling words backwards, spelling my name backwards.
Oh, that's really
Mhm.
neat. Yeah, because it
Yeah,
gets your brain shifted pretty
yeah,
quick. That's
yep,
great.
yep. So as you've caught yourself out and you're getting yourself, you're not in a state of complete overwhelm, but you're catching yourself. I
Yes.
start with spell my name backwards, then what color
Yeah.
is the top I'm wearing, which would be a
Yeah.
really fun and interesting one to make my mind work wearing turquoise today,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
turquoise to spell forwards is, and
Yeah.
if somebody's numerically inclined, counting backwards.
Yes.
I've had it. It really does get your brain thinking to go
Mm.
count backwards in threes from 100.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
And
good.
sometimes just naming it to tame it.
Yes.
Um, it,
Absolutely.
it's so
Very
so
powerful.
powerful. And it took a lot of practice again to practice what I preach. All
Mhm.
feelings are okay.
Yes.
We're
Yes, they
taught
are.
so often throughout our life, don't cry, stop crying. It's not good to be angry.
Yeah.
It's not. Emotions get such a bad rap.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
actually messages. They're meant to be
Yes.
heard.
Yes.
And they're not good or bad. They're not right or
Yes.
wrong. They
Yes.
let us know whether something is right for us or something that we should be more cautious of. Crying is a release of cortisol.
Yes.
Um, to
Yes.
say don't cry, no, hold that cortisol in.
Mm.
Now we know that the body does indeed keep the score.
Yes.
And the clue is in its name: emotion, energy,
Yes.
emotion. Like,
Yes.
let it pass. Why on earth do we try and hold on to yucky feelings?
Right.
Because they're the
Right.
only ones that we do try to push down.
Mm-hmm.
We chase and want, the ones that we let pass really quickly are the fun, the joy, the excitement. It was over in a second.
Yes.
But we're blocking and pushing down those negatives.
Yeah.
So practicing being okay. Every emotion is okay. Which one is it?
Absolutely.
I'll name it to tame it instead of
Mhm.
judging, which that
Yeah.
takes practice.
Yes, it
It
does.
does
Yes, it
take
does.
practice.
And
It's
on that one, can I just share also, remember there's a difference, for those of you who are listening, there's a difference between feeling it and a
mhm,
behavior response from
yes.
it. The
Oh,
behavioral
yes.
response can be a reaction. The feeling is just an emotion. And so
Mhm,
when we can give ourselves permission to sit with it a minute, feel it,
mhm,
notice it, breathe it out. I always like to tell
mhm,
people if you can do it 3 times saying, I allow myself to feel this anger,
mhm,
even though I don't want to feel this anger. I allow myself to feel this anger, even though I don't want to feel
mhm,
this anger. I allow myself to
mhm,
feel this anger, even though I don't want to feel this anger. You'll notice once you go through that, underneath
mhm.
anger, there's often, we say, another layer of emotions,
Yeah,
because sometimes anger is a product of defending
definitely.
this part of us who's feeling really attacked. And so
Mhm,
underneath, it might be I'm feeling sad or disappointed or hurt or abandoned or rejected. And so once you do that 3 times, usually then something else might pop up and then do
mhm,
that one 3 times until
mhm,
you get at that clearing of going, okay, now how do I want to feel? And what
mhm,
could I do about it to get to that place? So, I think that it's important to remember, like some of these people who are watching this, maybe you don't have access to mental health or a coach or a trauma counselor. Maybe you don't have money to do that. And so I think it's great to hear some of these things. There's so many modalities online and tools. I like to always tell people this is a program. And you mentioned it earlier too. That's my favorite thing to remind people is this is a program. Your brain is a program. It's a program that's been programmed. Um, and if we will give ourselves permission to learn a modality, whatever that modality is that we go, oh, I really like this one, I'm going to do this one. Let me practice it multiple times a day. I tell people put a timer on your phone. Let me practice it at least 3 times a day, multiple times a day for several weeks. I will get better with that one, and that will be a great tool for me. And then let me add another one in. So for those of you who don't have someone where you can go to, find a modality that you like that feels right, research it, get curious online, listen to some of the different practitioners or coaches online that are showing those, and then practice it until that becomes something that helps you with your particular thing that's going on for you so that you can rewire the brain. Because when you rewire the brain, once we release the emotional, because this is the emotional part of the brain back here, then we can go into the executive functioning part of the brain, the higher level part of the brain, and it's like, oh, what do I want to do about it? Okay, well, I really want, to have a good day. Well, what can I do to have a good day? So when we ask our brain the right questions, we can go forward. If we go to that question of, why did I start going there? We can get on a whole rabbit trail that can really pull us into a pendulum of beating ourselves up, or accusing ourselves, or just getting stuck in the, I thought I was better. Kind of like you mentioned before, as counselor and psychologist, we'll think, how did I not see that? What's wrong with me? I thought I was smarter than that. Instead, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't get into the whys. What do I want to feel? And what can I do about it now? And anyway, just kind of wanted to share a little bit about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the asking why as a human being, it invokes defensiveness.
It does. It does.
So out will come the critic asking why, and out will come anger to defend why. And coming back to another really beautiful take it everywhere tool, gratitude, and adopt an attitude of gratitude every day. And when I was really not in a good place and everything, quite honestly, felt terrible, I couldn't see anything positive on those days. But what am I grateful for? I have a roof over my head. I have my dog. I have my cat. I'm grateful for those things. Then as I started to do that, the more you're grateful, the more you find to be grateful for. And in the beginning, that gratitude was for the things around me.
Sure.
And then I began putting them with and for myself. What was I grateful to myself for? I was grateful to myself that I made it through another day.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I
So
was,
good.
just the little things that you do. So it doesn't matter where you're at on the spectrum of feeling, and even at the bottom of that pit, I was still able to say, okay, what do I have to be grateful for? And your instant reaction when somebody says, what are you grateful for? Is nothing. Everything's crap. I hate it. When you're stuck in that ruminating cycle and all of those fears are there, all of that confusion is there, you can't see it. But yeah, absolutely, starting to practice those things. And you don't have to be sitting with a therapist if that is not I absolutely believe that somebody who has experienced psychological abuse needs some sort of trauma specialist support with something. But that might not look like going and sitting with a therapist. It might look like utilizing a domestic violence helpline. In Australia, we're very blessed with our national helpline, 1-800-RESPECT. They are absolutely phenomenal. They're available 24/7.
Love that.
And they have specialist counsellors, as well as that understanding somebody on the end of the line that can just sit with you through things. And then within Australia, each state has specialised as well. But the national, I'm not sure what that looks like for your global audience, but investigating those supports for wherever your location is. And again, I really am a massive advocate, and so another thing to be grateful for, 1-800-RESPECT. They actually provide support to the people supporting the person who has experienced domestic abuse or sexual assault.
I love that.
If it were, my sister would be able to say, I'm trying to support my sister through this, and she could use and access and the support. My best friend.
Love that. Oh, that's awesome.
Is able to,
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. Yes, and we do have some of those kinds of similar things here in America, and I'll drop some of that stuff down in the links below. But there are lots of free resources out there for individuals going through traumas and things like that, and support groups and things like that. I think sometimes we also go through a period of time where when you've gone through the trauma, I know for myself as well, like you do go into a place of almost like moving away from everybody and feeling like I'm just feel like it's kind of like if you've ever seen an animal has gone through a fight and they have cuts all over them, and they just go and they harbor by themselves, and they're licking their wounds, like they're just like they don't feel like doing anything or eating. They just kind of go in this little place all by themselves, and that's what it feels like for most people when they go through domestic violence. It's like I don't even know where to begin. And so if you're at that place, there's, so much love for you. We don't want you to feel like, like if you're not doing something right now because you were in that place and space, that you're wrong either. Because some of it is that going, I'm just trying to catch my breath. I'm just trying to move into a place of like, where do I go next? What do I do next? What's safe, what's not. Others of you who are listening to this, maybe you're a young person who hears this, and you're like, I mean, I live in a family and I can't get out of it. There is helplines for that too. And making sure that you know that you can find safety outside of that home. And it's just something we need to become more and more aware of, and advocating more and more and everywhere around the world, because domestic violence is up everywhere around the world, unfortunately. Why those statistics are so high, and even though we have so much education, is beyond me, except that I feel like we need to be doing this in the school systems at early ages, so that they have the ability to say, this is wrong behavior, this is healthy behavior, this is unhealthy behavior, this is healthy behavior. Otherwise, they don't even know. And then what do I do about it if it's unhealthy behavior? Who can I go to? What can I do about it? And so, I'm a huge advocate that we need to be speaking about that more in the school systems.
Yeah, I think education is so vital, and I think we're learning more and more about what actually constitutes domestic violence. And I think the beauty of the double-edged sword that is the World Wide Web and social media and things like that is that we actually have this global awareness and these global commonalities that we're able to go, well,
Yes.
hang on a second, this is happening everywhere.
Yes.
It really was only a couple of years ago. I myself, that when the police told me that I was experiencing abuse, I was like, he doesn't hit me. Like, I still had that thing of like, I don't get hit, it's not abuse. And so many people still don't know that that's, and I think we'll continue to see numbers as education gets out there. When we see numbers rising, that's when we know that education is working,
Mm.
because when people are
Because they're
unaware,
reporting. You're right.
they're not and it's actually really scary to report. So many people don't report. There's so
Yeah.
much shame
Yeah.
in reporting. There's so much. It took me nearly a year and a half to be able to actually say, outside of therapy, I
Yeah.
have been sexually assaulted by my
Yeah.
husband and my
Yeah.
stepson. Um, it, the shame that sat with that
Yeah.
was absolutely horrific. And I think the awareness needs to get out there. I think, and that's another one of my initiatives, is change the story of abuse,
Mhm.
because I say abuse is a global pandemic. That's
Yeah.
the phrases that I use. And the answer is that we as people in our communities,
Mhm.
we as loved ones, we as friends, we as colleagues in the
Yes.
workplace have the knowledge
Mhm.
of what we can say and what we
Yes.
can do. And again, lots of that was born through the experiences I had with people not being helpful as well as being
Yes.
helpful, and being able to reflect on, well, actually, I enabled it for a very long time. It's far
Mhm.
more comfortable too. And people, the fear of people not believing, and
Yeah.
the fear of sounding like a crazy person or being
Yes.
told that you're bitter. I had people I had thought were friends
Mhm.
tell me, if he hasn't hit you, you need to stop saying that you've been abused. You can't be judging this. You can't, and
Yeah.
I, which then threw back to me, oh my God, I'm the problem. It
Mhm.
is me. I am wrong. I've
Yes.
got these educated people who I interact with on a daily basis,
Yeah.
telling me that what I thought I'd discovered was going on for me isn't actually right. I
Mhm.
am the problem, which
Mhm.
reinforced what the abuser was saying to me, because every time I
Yes.
was trying to raise something, and the idea of, oh, well, it can't have been that bad. He's a good guy.
Mhm.
Her words literally were, you really should never have called the police, Charmaine. That is a betrayal of your husband.
Oh, I'm
Um,
so
she was
sorry.
promptly blocked. um,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. But still,
it
during that
but
time, it
there is
does. The
that is
confusion,
yeah, and
why it comes.
I was very, it was damaging, it was difficult, but I actually think, well, partly she doesn't, there are still these people out there in community,
Mhm.
and with it being so prolific, and with people not stepping up, and not
Mhm.
you don't want it to be true, so you take so long to
Yes.
admit it to yourself before you admit it to
Yes.
somebody else. Then there's that fear,
Yes.
and real and or perceived. Sometimes it's actually
Right.
not safe for somebody to leave, but
Yes.
being unsafe to speak out. I mean, the reality is, just going about our everyday life,
Yes.
we are all coming into contact with abusers and survivors.
Yes.
And
Yes.
our awareness and the way we speak about things really can have huge implications. without us ever even realizing it. We're
Absolutely.
actually all vital pieces of that story. And
Yes.
again, we are so incredibly powerful when we are correctly educated, when we make that conscious and intentional choice.
Yes.
We don't have to be the therapist for the person.
Yes.
We don't even need to
Yes.
be but being able to say, I'm so sorry. Do
Yes.
you know that 1-800-RESPECT is available, or whatever
Yes.
those resources you're giving for your that is so incredibly,
Yes.
that is something we're all capable of sharing. It's not outside of our scope of capacity to be able to point somebody in the right
Yes.
direction.
Yes.
And I just think that's another part of what is so amazing about our gift of humanity and
Yes.
togetherness. And
Yes.
with everything, overcoming something, helping others, progressing with and for ourselves as part of our communities, our families, our connections, we all have so much power to tune into that frequency of love,
Yes.
and
Yes.
all come from such a powerful foundation. And it starts with little baby steps of practice.
Yes. Yes.
And it's
Absolutely. Love it.
possible for every single person. And it's for anyone who is in that space, still in it, still just realized, trying to work out how to get out. It isn't easy. Your safety is so, so important. That is the
Yes.
most important thing. You
Yes.
can and will get through. There is always possibilities. There are beautiful
Yes.
people like Erica with her podcast, and with this beautiful retreat that's coming up. And you're right, there's so many beautiful videos out there with different
Yes.
modalities that you can try. Take a look
That's
at
right.
something with some deep diaphragmatic breathing, have a look at some tapping,
Yeah.
read No Bad Parts to
Yes.
look into parts therapy, have a
Yeah.
look into understanding the brain. Dr. Dan
Yes.
Segala does some amazing
Yes.
videos around
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes.
Flipping your lid, turning your thinking brain offline,
Yeah.
the neurosequential model, or the triune brain model, to help understand that that's the nature of being human. You're not broken.
That's right.
Your brain is doing its job. But
Exactly.
its job's making life a little bit tough
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes, this has been so great. Thank you so much, Charmaine. You've given so many amazing tools. And for anybody out there listening, I just want you to know you're loved. You are enough. You are worthy. You are a masterpiece. Underneath all this mess, all these things that have gotten programmed in, you are a masterpiece. And that's what we want to share to you. We want to share these resources. Charmaine and I are going to have to do another sequel later on because this is so good. I appreciate this so much. Towards the end, will you just share how they can connect with you? I'll also drop those links down below the video, but share with people who might want to just reach out to you how they can reach out to you.
Yes, absolutely. On Facebook, there is Academy of Empowerment.
Mhm.
There is an Empowered Transformation. And if you are interested in looking at initiatives and spreading the word for change, change the story of abuse to ally survivors and change.
Love it so much. Thank you so much again. And for
Thank
everybody
you.
watching, be blessed and be a blessing. Until next time.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful